Here's my code for Program Challenge 2, CSC 399. We have some print statements here. This just explains what the program does. This explains the format of the inputs for the table. We can see that the rows are like this. Current state, input, next state, output. I explain that here as well. And then I just get the input. I have a while loop here so that the program will keep running and ask you for a new table as long as you want it to. I have this portion in a try here. This just separates out the information from the input string. And if there's a problem with that, then I just print there was a problem with your input, and then we try again, get the input, and continue, and start back up here. I did these both in one. I didn't do it separately for more Mealy machines because they're similar. I do, however, check right here whether it is a Moore or Mealy machine. Then I print the table out and state what type of machine it was. Here I check whether some of the input characters or symbols are more than one character, in which case I ask for them to be separated by commas when I get the input, so that I know which symbols they are. If it could be multiple different things. And then I have another while loop over this portion here, which will get the input string and generate an output string, so that once you enter an input string and get an output, you can enter another input string right away without having to restart the program. And if there are large input symbols, as I just explained, then we're going to split it on the commas, and it will be a list instead of a string. And then here I just generate the output string, initialize the output string to an empty list, and current state to the start. I explain where the current state and what the input is, and then down here inside this try, I move to that state and generate the output based on the table. And then if there's so if we move to the empty string state, basically that wasn't defined, then I'm going to raise a key error, just as if inside the table, when I use this dictionary for the row based on the current state and the input, generate the next state and the output. This would raise a key error if it wasn't defined. And then if it's invalid, then I just state that it was invalid and set the current state to null, and then break. And then I just say where I ended, and I check for large output symbols, because if the output symbols are multiple characters, then they separate them by commas so that it's clear which characters are part of which symbols. And then I just ask again right here, so that it, just like I explained for this while loop, will keep running as long as you want to keep entering in more input symbols. And then down here, for the first while loop, this just gets the table rows again, as long as you want to keep entering in more tables. So let's run this. So I have this print statement here to explain what the program does, and then this explanation of how the inputs are gathered. I explained that earlier. Each of these, it represents a row. We should see it's a more machine because these outputs are independent of the input strings. State C has output 0, state B 1, and A 1. We know we're starting at state A. We can enter an input string, and we see that we started at state A and input was 1. You can go back up here to the table. State A, input 1. Next state C, output 1. Moving to C, output 1. Current state is C, input is 0. C and 0. Next state B, output 0. Moving to B, output 0. Etc. Till the end, ending at state C. The output string is this down here. And done with that, I can try some more. You can do other tables here. We can remove that portion, let's see, and remove these references to it. And here we have our new state table. Enter input strings, generate output. We can also add in other inputs, possible inputs. We added this 22, which is multiple characters. So we added this here, and then it asks us to separate them by commas because there are some which are multiple characters, so we can't just go through them one character at a time. And then I can do that like this, and we see that we didn't hit any of these undefined outputs and next states. So it worked and we got our output string that time. And you can also remove different portions of it. Move this. So this just added another possible input as the program sees it, which is nothing. And so we added that into the table because we said that C and nothing go, or the lambda goes to this next state in this output. So we just added these into here, and we can do multiple things like that. We can change we can not define an output if we want to, and etc. Oh, if we have several different possible null states, and then we put an input string, and see we have current state is B, input is 2 down here, B and 2, it's undefined. And the next state is undefined, so ending at null, and there was no output for that, so the output string is still just 1 0 1 0. Okay, that's it.